everybody. Welcome to a special visual episode of, I guess, of GameBusters. I'm going to just steal this one for my thing. So today we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to do like a Spoilercast. I don't have a fun, cool word for that yet, but we're going to talk about The Last of Us Part 2. I think it's been out for over a month now, right? How long has it been?
Time isn't real.
Time isn't real, that's true. Anyway, the point is that it's been out long enough, I think, for everyone to sit on it a little bit and let it stew. So today we're just going to be talking about our thoughts on it and, like, I guess maybe what we wanted going into it and what we got out of it and just overall feelings. I'm thinking we're going to probably hone in on the story part of it a little bit. But yeah, so just to, like, get the ball rolling, I'm curious, what was everyone's experience with the first Last of Us game?
Loved it.
You loved it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming so, or you probably wouldn't have gotten the second one. But, like, did anything about, like, the first game, like, particularly stick out to you, like, in a personal way or something like that?
It was the mainly the storyline, and yeah, it was just mainly the storyline and the character development. Like, to begin with, like, are we allowed to talk about? I know it's called Spoilercast. Are we allowed to talk about?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Great.
This is all full spoilers. Like, there's nothing we're worried about.
All right. So, because, like, Joel starts off as a very bitter and like, grieving person, and then towards the end you feel like he's kind of, like, healed and he hates Ellie to begin with, and then at the end he kind of, like, sees her as his own daughter. It's kind of like the build up towards that.
Yeah, it's a nice story. I think one thing that maybe is a hot take is that, like, I think that story has sort of been done to death in Hollywood, but I think The Last of Us is the first time that a video game pulled it off successfully, and that's why it was so cool, because, like, we got to be in it, and, like, it's I mean, that's not supposed to be a knock on it. Like, they really did a great job translating that kind of concept to the screen, I think. Matt, what about you?
I remember it being the first big game that I played it from. I played about a quarter of it and then I stopped. Because I tend to do that with a lot of things, and then I went back to it and finished it, and by the end of it I'm thinking I should have really stuck with this and finished it. But I played it in about 4 days straight, finished the whole thing, and I just couldn't believe it. I've never experienced a game like it before. Never really. I mean, I literally will fangirl over the whole thing, but it's just, like, just brilliant. And at the time, I think Walking Dead was becoming a bit naff, and then this game came along, and it was. It was just, I love it. I really do.
I think the pitch for this is, like, what if, like, with The Walking Dead was good and stuff? I don't know. There's no way of knowing. No, it's I totally get that. Like, I think that this was this 2013 that it first came out, the first one?
Yeah.
I think it was 2013.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I do think that it came out at, like, the right time for that kind of thing, for sure. But I do think it also, like, really hit home in solidifying that, like, I mean, Uncharted obviously had been doing a great job of, like, making cinematic games. Like, you know, Naughty Dog already got that figured out, but Uncharted is just kind of, like, fun and let's hit some things and explode some stuff, you know?
It's Indiana Jones.
It's Indiana Jones, yeah.
Was, like, a much more emotionally hard hitter.
Yeah. And, like, like, Uncharted had some, like, moments and stuff, but, like, ultimately it's a fun game, right? Like, it's a good blowout. But I really think that the Last of Us, like, really, like, solidified the idea that, like, games can, like, tell a story like that, like, with that kind of weight. Like, without like that, the first, like, Last of Us game, like, we would not have stuff like God of War, you know, like. That wouldn't be there. But anyway, just figured we'd ease in on that. So I do want to say, like, while we get into this, like, I genuinely, like, I'm gonna probably say some mean things, but I very much genuinely recommend The Last of Us Part 2 to everyone who played the first game. Regardless of, like, what I say here, I think it's still a pretty huge accomplishment. So I think that from what I've seen, like maybe different Matt and Jess and I are sort of on the same wavelength of having some qualms with the story. And I guess we should go ahead and dive into that. So like, I don't know, Jess, why don't you kick us off since this was your big idea? What sort of issues did you have, or what did you like about the story too? Just what were your thoughts? I think you're frozen, so I'm gonna move. Oh, you're back.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it. So I don't know if you heard me. Just kind of like, what were your thoughts on the story at the end, like the flow of it and like the events and all that stuff? Like, what you like and what you didn't like.
Which one? I kind of like.
Oh, sorry, the second game. Yeah, we're on there now.
The ending. I thought coming away from it, that the storyline, it had something to it. I just thought it could have been told in a completely different way. Like, I completely understood what they were trying to say, but I don't think they approached it in an enjoyable way for a gamer.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. So I don't know, Matt. What in a few sentences, what did you think about it?
So I'm about as divided on the game as I am as the game itself is divided. I suppose it really was a thing of two halves, and
yeah.
I started strong. I went in strong. I felt really good about it. All very nostalgic, and it was all. I feel it was all going very, very well. And it by the second half, when we get into Abby's narrative, I was getting frustrated by the runtime. I was getting frustrated by the fact we had to play as her. I think I softened up towards the end, but I'm in two minds on this. It's a very, very much two minds.
Yeah. How about you, Johnny?
I personally really liked the split story. I think part of the reason why I was a lot more accepting to the Abby part than I think a lot of people were is that I really liked how the gameplay felt differently as Abby. As Ellie, it's a lot of stealth and like quick kills from behind with the knife. But with Abby, I can just beat the shit out of some zombies, and that was very satisfying to me.
That was good. Like, I was actually kind of sad. Like when I initially switched to Abby, like, which is something I'd already heard about because the internet.
Right. Well, you also get to play as her in the very beginning.
Yeah, and like it was obvious that she was going to come back at some point, but I like originally was kind of mad because I was like, oh, like this, like I felt like it kind of interrupted the flow of the story and that kind of stuff. And I think like Matt, I like warmed up to it by the end. In retrospect, I actually liked Abby's part a lot more than Ellie's by the end of it. I don't know. I mainly my my main issue is, I guess, I feel like they focused on the wrong people. I feel like this should have been a story about Abby and about Lev, and I don't really feel like. I feel like Ellie was wedged into it at the last minute to connect it to the last game almost. I personally, I would have really preferred them to not even have Ellie/Joel in the story at all. I would have loved to see another something in this universe, like, and focus more on these like warring factions and like, maybe some like political intrigue between them and stuff, and like almost like obviously it's not in a romantic sense, but like the almost like star-crossed lovers nature of like Abby and Lev coming together and forming a family against like all the odds. Like that's like something that really like touched me, and like that part of the story like hit me like just as hard as the first game. But yeah, I don't know, like I was did you guys hear that?
Yeah, squealing.
Yeah, that was like many blocks away. Okay.
When you gotta go fast.
Yeah, you gotta. So I'm curious to hear like your thoughts. Like, so Jess, what did you think like about Abby versus Ellie's story? Like, who did you end up like liking more at the end or caring about more?
Well, I never disliked Abby because I could understand why she did what she did, because Joel kind of like ruined humanity's best chance
He
of.
did do a lot of.
Yeah.
He did sort of a big genocide, I guess.
Yeah, he did. He did a lot, and so I could completely understand her need for revenge. It's just that she never had that like processing over what she had done. It was most of her guilt was towards what she had been doing to the scars, and I feel like the whole game could have been better if throughout Abby's segment she had been wondering whether revenge was actually worth it or not, and maybe she feels terrible about it. And then towards the end, when Ellie comes to get her own revenge, that way Abby could talk her out of it and say, "I've had my revenge, and it didn't."
Yeah, that was
well.
kind of what I was expecting almost to happen,
Yeah.
and like was disappointed when it didn't, I guess. I don't know. So Matt, I know you said you're very divided on this. Like, what were your thoughts on like Abby versus Ellie? Like, did you end up like cheering for one of them more than the other?
I don't. I don't. I mean, I like how when you at the what's it called in the cinema at the end where you've got the boss fight, as it were. I mean, I'm kind of glad nobody won because I think that would have. I mean, I think considering they the scale of the storyline, how long it took us to get to this, to get to the end of it and everything, it would have been. I mean, you could argue, yeah, Ellie kills Abby. That would have been, that's what we knew was, we had a feeling it was going to happen. But I think after everything they'd gone through, Abby and Lev, as it were, I don't think, all that and then Abby and Ellie just, stealth kills. It wouldn't have really worked. But I think at the end, I don't know. I think I was still rooting for Ellie, really.
Really? So
for
yeah,
John, yeah, I think.
So yeah, okay. So Johnny, you're a big Ellie stan too, I'm guessing.
I mean, I was still very sympathetic to Ellie. I'm also, I also really liked Abby's journey. I will say, as far as like, playing for whatever, like 13 hours as Ellie, and then like I guess like close to 10 as Abby right afterwards. I think that should have been. I like the idea of parallel stories, but I really wish that they had been chopped up a little bit. Like it would have been, because I really would think it would have been really great if it was like basically you get practically like 4-hour segments of each person's story, and they almost don't overlap. You see some of the same characters, but like you don't see the reactions until like Abby's last 4 hours. And then you would come into the theater, and then it would go back to Ellie's point of view, and you would just see the shot kill Jesse. Good boy, Jesse. Poor guy.
Yeah, that does suck. I wanted to quickly introduce my cat, Ellie. Named after such character.
She's always the most vocal one on the D&D chat.
She is. She's the real BBG. So for me personally, I really was like, I don't know, in my eyes, like the way I absorbed the story, like I in the first game, like you see Joel essentially like choose to become like the worst person in history, like for love, right? And it's like it's an interesting story. Like Joel is obviously not the hero of the first story. Like he is the villain. I mean, whether he's the protagonist, sure, but like in I guess the idea like in this one is I absorbed is that Ellie falls into almost being worse, because what happens to her is that she genuinely she also becomes like the worst person, but she does it completely out of hatred and spite and her thirst for revenge. And I think that honestly, like I have to say something though, like when I got to the end and like Ellie like rushes off at the end from Dina and like the baby at the farm, I very genuinely believed that she was going to rescue Abby and Lev and was going to like set them free, and like that was the thing, and like it was going to surprise us at the end, whatever. And like when I was, that's like it motivated me a lot. I was like, this is a great story. Like Ellie like risking her life to go save this person that she hated so much. Like what an awesome redemption arc. And I was so fucking like decimated when it turned out she still wanted to kill her. Like I am absolutely unable to fathom this. Like it totally blew my mind. And honestly, if like outside of the ending, I do think like up until then, like it was a pretty well written like story. I liked, and like line to line, the writing is great too. I mean, I don't think anyone's arguing that. Like dialogue is excellent, but it's just like it almost felt like at the end, like Neil Druckmann was like, how can I like invalidate everything that happened in this game like in one instant? And I mean, he did it, was kind of what I got. But I mean, like it felt to me a lot like in Game of Thrones at the end when Jaime like went back to Cersei at the end. It's like, how do I invalidate 8 seasons of my redemption arc in 1 second? Yeah, I don't know. What were your thoughts on that? Anybody?
He killed like literally everybody and their dog to get to Abby.
And their dog.
Yeah, and their dog. I stabbed so many dogs to get to Abby.
Yeah.
And then she just lets her go. Kills off half of where are they? California. Kills off half of California to get to Abby.
Yeah. See, I didn't feel as let down about the still trying to kill Abby at the end because of that scene on the farm where she has like those like flashbacks of like Seattle and just like the guilt of basically like I felt like I could feel Ellie's guilt about like when Tommy came to visit, like saying like, hey, you like Joel wouldn't have given up for you because Joel didn't, but in this case, Tommy's presenting it like it's a good thing, but we all, as an audience, you can kind of think, well, it wasn't a good thing that Joel never gave up on Ellie.
Yeah.
So I kind of still felt for her when she was trying to still kill Abby, because it was like, not only did she want to be able to rest easy and not feel guilt with this new life, but she wanted to like, in her mind, put Joel to rest and like basically get some sort of closure that she never had with him in real life after learning about what he did to the Fireflies.
I mean, I haven't experienced like PTSD personally, so I maybe can't speak to this too much, but like what I read from that was like that's why I thought she was going to forget. She was like, I have to apologize, like I have to forgive Abby. Like that's why I thought she was running to her at the end, because like I was thinking like, oh, this is the way that I can get closure and like end this like torment in me, is to like forgive. But like obviously she didn't take that path. I think that like I don't know, it's weird because like I see like the cyclical nature of it, and like how like she becomes like worse than Joel almost by the end. Like and it's sad because like I feel like the game keeps trying to tell me like, oh, Ellie redeemed herself by not killing Abby at the end and putting her on the boat or whatever, and like she just super didn't. She killed like hundreds of people to get to that point, like, and then just like was like, oh, I should have done this. Whoops. Like Ellie's just like one of the most despicable villains to me in recent video game history.
See, but I feel like you could argue that that's kind of the point of redemption. Is it's such a difficult and powerful change that literally, like, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but like, my concept of redemption is that like basically you're practically a new person if you're truly like going through something like that, because you just like, so all your past actions, like if you truly regret them and like you can be forgiven for them if you like basically go through a true redemptive change. And I think I think it's really explained well in that little snap flashback you get at the very end with Ellie. I think it's with Ellie and the guitar, where she's sitting with Joel the night before everything went down, and she says like, I don't know if I can ever forgive you, but I want to try. And I think that's kind of the point, is you kind of have to feel that way towards every character in this game, because Abby wasn't flawless character either. She obviously allowed revenge to take it. It's just she got her what she thought was her revenge, and just thought, well, that's the end of it. I'm fine now, and everything is hunky dory.
Yeah.
But she didn't think like, no, I'm basically for killing my father, I'm basically killing someone else's father, at least father figure.
Right. The thing about.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, and then she's obviously part of a militia group that's slaughtering just a religious faction, and also killing anyone that enters their city. It's the apocalypse.
Yeah, no rules.
Get ready for that in 2 months.
Yeah, well, 2 months. You're very optimistic. Yeah, like my main thing, I guess, was like we saw Abby like go through that whole process of like getting her revenge and realizing, like the thing is that we see Abby grow as a person. At the beginning, she gets her revenge, she realizes it doesn't satisfy her, and then when Ellie kills Owen and the one I hate, whose name I forgot, what's her face? Yeah, pregnant. What's her face?
Mel.
Mel.
Okay, I knew it was an M.
Mel can eat my butt, dude. Hated her. Yeah, like when Ellie kills her two closest friends or whatever, and she like chooses the higher path, and so, like she learned her lesson, right? She grew as a person. She learned that revenge isn't the way, and she lets Ellie go in the theater, right?
Well, but Lev teaches it to her basically.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
and like,
yeah, so you could say, I mean, if Ellie had. I mean, Ellie almost had Dana try to do that same thing, but then unlike Abby, Ellie still had Tommy preaching the exact opposite.
Yeah, that's true. And like, yeah, like Tommy was pretty much like the evil demon on her shoulder, right? Like, and I think that Jesse and Dina both contributed to trying to like make her understand like that lesson, which is what made it hurt a lot more at the end when she ditched Dina, like gave up on everything. And it was like, this is the person who stuck with you through all of this, who was patient enough to like to hang with you, and like you throw everything away like for this. But anyway, I don't know. So I'm kind of ranting a little bit. I guess like the thing I want to like get at is that it's to me it feels like this story was almost like written and then like the characters from the Last of Us universe were kind of added into it. If that makes sense. I don't know if anyone else felt that way, but
I don't know. I feel. Oh, sorry. I'll let you go.
I was just gonna say, like, genuinely, I really feel like this was like Neil Druckmann's weird art piece, and he was like, "What can I put on this to sell it?" Like, I don't know. It just didn't feel like a continuation of the last story to me at all. But anyway, say words.
One thing I really did love was the writing in like the actual world itself, like the characters' comments on things they would see, like when they were trying to discuss what roadies are, and Dina was trying to explain to Ellie that roadies was someone that follows like musicians around, and they couldn't wrap their heads around that. Yeah. And when they're in that library and they see the giant mushroom, and one of them says, "Oh, that's a bit offensive, don't you think?" Because it's so weird, because now they see mushrooms as something that's like it represents like death and stuff. So like, why would you have that in a children's library? Yeah. And they can't wrap their heads around the fact that back then mushrooms weren't an offensive thing. Yeah. Like that kind of writing like did really well at world building, and I feel like I kind of missed the fact that it didn't delve into what's going on in the world much, like what's going on in the countries.
Like, that's sad to me, because like that's kind of the thing that I was hoping for out of this. Like when I saw the trailers for like what it was going to be like with having these like two warring factions with different ideologies, I was like, man, I would love to see like a full scale like multiple faction war kind of a thing with but I don't know. So Matt, I know you said you're a little bit divided on the story. How did you feel about the gameplay, like for the actual game part of it?
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I mean,
that's one of the few one of the few aspects of the game that makes it superior to the first one. Just in I'm the gameplay was, I mean, I don't know. I can say technically it was like the most impressive thing I've ever played.
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, that's the bar now for.
Yeah, for action adventure
Everything.
games like that.
Yeah.
That is absolutely the bar for
The
sure.
detail to it, the just everything. I mean, I'm literally playing it again, and I'm literally. I mean, most of the time I'm spending just on photo mode, just
Yeah.
because the things you see in it, and it's staggering what they've made.
The specific moment for me that made me just like shit my pants was when we were like running through the forest and seeing the light of the torch reflecting as we were running through the trees, like blew my mind. Like it looked like real life. I don't know what else to say. Like I cannot believe it was in a video game. The like just the like it almost feels like, I think I described it when I wrote about it as like, it feels like it's a procedurally generated movie. Like it feels like I'm making a movie and watching it happen,
Yeah.
Which I am super impressed with. And like we should also probably talk a little bit about the violence. Like, okay, there are more violent games out there, but there's no other game that is this excited about being violent.
It's definitely, I'm not excited of it. It's definitely one of the most, I don't know if visceral is the right word, but it definitely makes me feel the most like like someone. It has a lot of weight to it, not emotionally, but like physically, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like the way I talked about it is like most games don't want you to feel uncomfortable when playing them, and so the violence is tempered to make it like cartoony or like in a cinematic way or something. This game is trying to make you uncomfortable and does it constantly, and then celebrates itself when it does, like with its violence.
Then you have the enemies yelling out the names of the people you just
Dude, that fucked me up so much. I hated it.
He was about to celebrate his birthday.
Yeah, like, oh, Dave was 2 days away from retirement.
The worst one for me was I saw a guy with a dog, and I thought, okay, I'm not going to shoot the dog, so I shot the guy instead, and the dog turned around and cried. And I was like, no.
Holy shit!
I did that with the bow and arrow. Shot a guy in the house, and then the dog turns around and starts sniffing at the guy and like whimpering. And I was like,
oh, like doing like a whole Lion King thing. Like, you gotta get up.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I think I had a different experience from a lot of people because I didn't play the first Last of Us until like December of last year.
Okay.
Because I didn't buy it until like a Black Friday deal with the PS4.
When it was 6 cents, yeah.
I threw it in with a PS4. I'm like, well, I need a PS4.
Okay.
And so I practically played them back to back. Not really, but like, within like 3 months of each other.
Okay.
And so I think that's part of why like the story seemed a little more seamless to me. Like it still felt like the characters to me. I think it's just because I had literally just played it like freshly for the first time and then went to that game. So it's like I didn't have much time to sit in it and like think, where do I want to see these characters? It was more like, okay, I finished it. This is where these characters are. It's like, oh, okay. It's like binge watching a show versus like having to watch it regularly.
Right. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I played the first one in like 2015, 16. So like I had a few years to kind of sit on it. I know there are a lot of folks who played it in 2013 and been thinking for 7 years, like, what could it be? I don't know. When did y'all play the first one?
I played it when I bought my PS4, which I think was 2016, so it was about a year after Witcher came out.
Is that how you measure your time metrics? Like, how long was it after The Witcher? Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. That could definitely be part of it. I also want to admit that like I feel like my my time with like experiencing the story was kind of tainted just by the internet. I guess collectively worked very hard to do that and ruin everything.
Yeah. I think that worked like the opposite to me. I came in like really wanting to enjoy it because all the criticism I saw of it was the very non-academic criticism that there are 2 gays in this game. And I don't really care for it.
I don't care much for the gays.
Like, well, every lesbian I've met in real life has been great, so this game should be great.
Throw as many as you can in there. It's fine. I think that they also did a really good job drawing attention to Lev's like plight as being a transgender man, and like kind of like without drawing like too much focus on it and making it like too much part of his character, because that's like not like
he wasn't just a token.
Yeah, that wasn't like why he was there, right?
This
like
was
he was
character aspect. This wasn't the whole
yeah. But I don't know. I was again like super loved that whole thing, and I'm now having flashbacks about crawling over the big skyscraper bridge. That's the worst one.
That one segment when you're going down the building scared the hell out of me.
I have to say,
graphic.
I think that's maybe the worst offender to my next point. I think this game is way too long, man. I think it's probably 7 or 8 hours too long. I think that there's a lot of padding, and I think that going down the big building is definitely the worst case of it. You're in there for like 3 hours, like going down this like 20-story building, like slowly at a like it's just like I think the same effect could have been achieved with like having you take the elevator down to the 3rd floor and just have to make it to the bottom, like could have been okay. But I don't know. What do you guys feel about the timing of it and like I guess both the length of the game and the pacing?
I've been playing it really spaced out, so I've only just kind of like reached the end now, and I bought it when it came out. So I've been playing it in segments, mainly because I get annoyed with it and turn it off and then come back to it when I've calmed down a bit. It's usually around the storyline. I'm like, oh, go away.
Yeah, I don't know, Matt. What do you think about the like length / pacing?
Too long.
Too long, yeah.
I got to like Abby's section at the beginning. I know, because I felt like it was this thing of the pacing was going really well right up to Abby turns up at the cinema, and it was all about to go to a head, and then suddenly stops, and then it's now we're going to learn about Abby's backstory, and I'm like, okay.
It was a brave choice.
It was bold. I think I would have really enjoyed having us switch between them each day, and then work our way up to the ending. And like
I was saying that before while you were getting your cat.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I agree with you. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry?
I kind of like mapped out how the storyline could have been better.
Oh, you made a better one.
Yeah, I made it better. Because I thought like all the best moments were the flashbacks with Joel and Ellie, and I think if we could have just opened up with the chronologically first flashback, when it's her birthday and he gives her that thing, if we could have opened that up with the first scene, that would have been amazing. And then up until midway of the game, we could have been switched between Ellie and Abby and going through their lives. Maybe maybe they know each other, and then Abby kills Joel, and then the rest of the game is the revenge plot with both of them doing. But like I feel like if they could have started off with that, because the starting scene for the first game is one of the best starts to a game.
Oh yeah, sure.
And I just feel like with this game, I can't even what even was the starting scene. I can't remember what it was. But
Joel tells Tommy about the hospital.
Yeah, he's cleaning the guitar. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I feel like they should have just started off with the birthday present, because that would have been a really emotional start to the game, and then we could have progressed.
Man, I'm sorry. I just remembered one other thing that was so impressive that I wanted to shout out, and it seems like such a small thing, but when I was like Ellie and Jesse was like my partner, I was like, there was a part where I left the theater and I like unfolded like it's like a paper map, right? And you like actually pull it out and look at it. I was like, okay, like it's like, oh, there's like the Ferris wheel or whatever, we have to go there. And like I unfolded the map and like looked at it. I was there for like a minute, and then I folded it up, and like I noticed that like, because even though like I was standing out in the rain, right, because I'm in a video game, like Jesse was like waiting like this like right underneath the awning, like outside of the rain, like for me to finish looking at the map. And as soon as I started walking, he just like jogged out to join me. And I was like, it's such like a tiny thing that like made the AI feel very human, you know?
Can I just say the AI in every aspect in this game is just, I mean, obviously it's been 7 years, but it was just so much better than the first one.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know, like, it felt like, they felt like people, which, you know, again plays into, I'm killing a lot of people.
I am killing a lot of these people, huh?
Like, these guys have birthdays and like wives and daughters.
Yeah, it's weird because like I mean like normally in a video game I can very easily distance myself from like what my character is doing, right? Like if I'm in like fucking Far Cry and I shoot 7,000 people, which I do, like I don't feel like I've killed anybody. But this game was
when I need to get a cool dagger and have to serve the god of evil. It's like,
yeah,
okay,
Balrog,
it's worth it for a cool dagger.
Malrog Bal, maybe.
Malog
Bal.
And you get the sweet mace. It's like, hey,
I'm sorry, Todd.
It's like, hey, yeah, I'm the god of rape and evil, but I'll give you this super cool mace if you kill this guy for me. It's like,
I'm in.
Well, that does seem fair.
One thing I'm curious about, like, I know that this has already been confirmed to like eventually become a trilogy. Maybe 10 years from now, who fucking knows? But
I thought you were gonna say TV show.
I mean, well, we can talk about that, I guess. But yeah, like I'm curious, like, what are you guys thinking about like for a third game? Because like, honestly, to catch my interest at this point, what I really would like is for Ellie to just not be in it at all. Fucking like make it like 5 or 10 years later, Abby and Lev are somewhere else in the world. Like show us a little bit more of the world. Remove the rest of this context from here, and like it doesn't need to be like an emotionally like complex thing. I think that we can just have a story where they're like the heroes, and I'd be okay with that. Just exploring the world a little bit, but I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on what you would like to see.
It would be cool if it was open world.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, an open world would work. That would be super cool.
Yeah, after the first game, I was like, I don't think this could work, but like with an open world. But like, I mean, after this one, I think it very clearly could. Like, there is a tiny open world there at the beginning, which was like when that opened up, I was like, oh wow, is this an open world game? And then quickly was like, oh, it's not.
I'll just say it. I don't need another open world necessarily.
We don't need it, yeah, but like,
do it well, then by all means. But like, enough of my games are like open worlds, and I'm like, where am I supposed to go?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fair. Like, I don't know. I'm curious. I have heard rumors and rumblings though that, and I really want this to happen. The next game that Naughty Dog is working on is the superhero game based on the trading cards in this one.
Oh, that would be fun.
Like that, I think that would actually be awesome. Like a great like lead in to it. But yeah, like actually, I'm curious if you want to talk about the TV show a little bit. What are people's thoughts on that? I'm like a little bit apprehensive personally, but
no.
No? Oh, just a no. Huh?
Well, the guy who's doing it is he did Chernobyl, but I don't see how it's going to work, because if they copy the game storyline, it's never going to live up to the game. But if they don't copy the game storyline, then it's not. A lot of people aren't going to be happy with it.
See, it's kind of like the same thing with the Avatar movie when it came out.
I've never heard of that. Sorry.
It's like, okay, so you admit that the first iteration that you're copying did it pretty much perfectly as far as like how it could pace itself and keep the audience's attention. So why are you just trying to do it again? And like in a worse way?
Yeah, but worse.
Because there is something about getting more empathy from characters, because you're literally controlling their movements, so you feel like you're putting part of yourself in there.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. I mean, this is a pretty tried and true Hollywood story of like, oh, I've sacrificed a lot for love. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I think it loses what makes it special when you put it back on a screen is the thing. So now I have heard also there are rumors that Nikolai Coster-Waldau is going to play Joel, which is exciting. I think that's a good casting. He played Jaime in Game of Thrones, but Um,
Can
anyway,
you pull off a Texan as the question?
uh,
I believe anyone that beautiful could be from Texas. I don't know.
well, in real life, he's actually Danish and he does the British accent, so
Yeah.
who knows? I don't know. How good is this British accent? Why don't you tell me? Okay, well, never mind.
But also, to be fair, when you're thinking about the size of Europe, that's like someone from New York doing a Texan accent.
Yeah, that's true.
As far as distance.
Which is also difficult.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah,
obviously.
anyway, but yeah, so I guess sort of like trying to pull this together. Like, I don't know. Was everyone like? I don't know. So Matt, did you say you're playing it again right now?
I am, yeah.
Okay, are you doing like the grounded difficulty thing or one of those things, or?
Well, that's what made me think about it, because they announced the new modes, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to play this again, because I've done it with the first one. What's the word? I've played the first one now, I think 7 times. Just it's ridiculous. I mean, I've played on every mode, and it's a kind of OCD thing now. I'm just like, I need to finish it on this one, and then I'm going to try this one, and then when you get to the end, you're like, I have to finish this, on grounded or whatever. But also because it was such a big game, I was like, I didn't take everything in, and they said that you won't take everything in.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
I'll play it again and see what and I've missed a lot, it turns out, and I'm like, oh, I didn't see that or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've just gone past Joel's death again, and it was horrible. So
yeah,
that was rough. After that.
I am impressed with how angry and resentful Joel's death scene made me at the beginning. Like, I am impressed with the intensity of emotion it made me feel.
Oh, yeah.
Even knowing like how he was like kind of deserved it. Like,
like that's not the same Joel from the first game. It's kind of
yeah,
point, right?
Sure. Like, but well, I mean, isn't it though? Because didn't he say like right before that, like, I'll do it again?
Yeah, he said he'd do it again, but then he also is like, he seems very accepting of what, he's not like trying to defend himself and say like it was the right thing to do. He's just like,
it's interesting, like,
I'm a bad person that's done bad things. Just go ahead and kill me if it makes you feel better.
Yeah, that's rough. I don't know, like, I also like you made me think of that, like, about like missing things the first time. I also want to give a shout out to like I guess pathing is maybe the right word. Like, there were like, when you're running like these high intensity action scenes, like there's so much like going on like all around you in every direction, but like, and there's so many ways to go, but like somehow you always know exactly where to go. Like, the game does an amazing job of like subtly directing you, like, this is the avenue to take, and like I don't even know why, like I knew where to go, because like there are tons of dead ends in this game. They don't have anything hidden in them. They're just there because dead ends sometimes exist in real life.
Right.
And I don't know, I'm just like bewildered that like I think I only ran into a dead end like twice during the whole game. Like, I always knew exactly where to go. But like, yeah, like that's what I'm saying is like there's tons of stuff in this, and I can understand why it took I don't know, I think this was in development for like 5 or 6 years. Like, I can understand why it took that long. It's like I said, like, and it's the more I like remember like how cool some of this stuff was, like the more like fondly I think about it, and then I like think about how bad the story made me feel and how I like wanted to like vomit into my disc case at the end. And like I guess it would suffice to say that I have conflicted feelings, but like I said, I really, really recommend it still. Like, it's just like it's the most technically impressive video game ever made, hands down. I don't think anyone can argue that. Like, nobody.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, kind of about what Matt said, what you said about feeling so bad. Like, I went back and played The Last of Us, the first one, after finishing The Last of Us 2, and I got all the way through it, and then I got to the hospital scene where Joel's supposed to start doing all that, and I just couldn't. I was like, no, I'm not. After seeing everything that happens, I'm not doing that again. I'm not gonna kill a bunch of hospital workers.
Yeah.
During a pandemic.
Which I guess maybe we should address too. And like, look, I know Neil Druckmann didn't cause the pandemic, okay? The real one. I know that he didn't know what was going to happen, but man, this game could not have come out at a worse time. And I think that unfortunately we have to look at it through that lens of like, what it's kind of telling me is like, during the pandemic, you will kill each other. There is no forgiveness. There is no redemption. Humanity is done. And it's like, I probably didn't need to hear that right now. Now, on the other end, I think I actually had an interesting experience with The Last of Us 2 because I also was doing a review for Death Stranding, the PC port, which I had not played before, and I got the review code the same day that I got The Last of Us 2, and so I played both of them at the same time, and I made a video about this on like my thoughts because like they're actually very much about the same thing, but everyone has. I saw an interview asking Hideo Kojima if he would like was a wizard, because he knew about all this before it happened, with all this around us, where the post office is the last thing that can save us from the apocalypse. But he also had a fun quote where he said like, "If I could see the future, Death Stranding would have sold much better." So anyway, like I think I was also a little bit hypercritical of The Last of Us for that reason, being that like it is really a pessimistic outlook on humanity in the face of adversity, where Death Stranding is like a very optimistic look on coming together in the face of the apocalypse and choosing to sacrifice so that others may gain. Like, I don't know. I think the two stories are both about like we're stronger when we work together and we're weaker when we're drawn apart. And I think that the unfortunate thing is that like Ellie's story at least didn't come to that conclusion. Like Ellie's story taught me that there is no escape from the cycle of revenge and hatred. And I would say that Abby's story, on the other hand, did a great job of communicating that thought, though. Like, I mean, like she escaped from the cycle. Like, and
in the end, Ellie does too. It just took her a lot longer, and it was
and also she loses everything too.
Well, you don't know. I mean, it's kind of left as a cliffhanger at the end, whether or
not
Dana
I genuinely hope Dina does not take her back. Dina deserves much better than Ellie.
I don't know. If Ellie's really moved on, then I could see them being back together. Yeah. I just want Ellie to be happy.
I don't. See, that's the thing, is I don't anymore. I like she's a bad person, man. Like, and I mean, like Joel is also a bad person. I didn't want him to be happy either in this game. Like he didn't. Like I said, like I mean, watching the death scene was horrifying, but like I kind of feel like he deserved it still. I mean, looking back on it, I mean, he did the big bad one. Like he really is the one who caused the apocalypse at the end of the day. So
yeah.
I don't know.
mean, you know, if you judge everyone's like actions on a scale, it's always going to end up in like much more in the bad than the good. Is what I.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, regardless of intentions, because obviously everyone can have good intentions, but at the end of the day, we're big dumb ape brains.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna kind of end up doing what helps us. To some extent, and so you're going to always end up with a lot more selfish actions than selfless ones, even if you don't mean to. So the idea of someone being like in like a weighted, like, I guess, I don't want to say, I guess karma is probably the word, even though I know that's not the right term really, but like if you're weighing everything like good and bad against the scale, everybody's going to be at least a little more bad than good. And so you just got to kind of learn to forgive some of the bad, and obviously there's a lot of bad in all the characters in this game. Yeah, and that's because they're in dire straits.
Well, see, that's like I think that rolls back to me having playing Death Stranding at the same time, which is another world set in a horrible apocalypse where everyone like is torn apart trying to kill each other, and but in that story, that game is all about how everyone, at the end of the day, humans are good enough to sacrifice so that others may thrive. Humans will always give up what they have so that others may gain. Like, and it's like a really optimistic story in the face of the whole 2020, I guess. But like, I mean, and the truth, I'm sure, lies somewhere between those, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, but I don't know. So what is everyone's, like, I guess, final thoughts as we, like, wrap this up? Are like, what are you feeling now that you've had just some time to digest it? Are you angry, or are you happy? You want to dance?
I'm like completely amazed that graphics are going to get better than that in the next generation. We're at that point now where I'm like, how can they get better?
Are you excited to buy this PS5 remaster in 2 years?
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna, because I remember when the first game came out, that was probably the best looking game to come out at that time.
At 2013, yeah, probably.
Yeah, right at the end of the PlayStation 3's lifeline, and then it was remastered.
My PS3 couldn't even run it.
Yeah. I mean, my PS4, it sounds like it's going to set on fire whenever I turn it on. Like generally, I've cleaned it out and everything, and it's still, I'm like, okay, no, it's the game.
I super lucked out because I got the only model of PS4 that doesn't make any sound, which is the 1 terabyte Slim model. Not the Pro, like the base PS4 1 terabyte Slim. It has never made a single sound. Like,
that is lucky.
Wonderful. I it's very funny too. Yeah, I don't know, Matt. What are your final thoughts on this? Like, going away from it.
It's funny you said they confirmed there was going to be a trilogy for it. I mean, it feels to me like the Godfather trilogy, doesn't it? Because the Spider-Man trilogy. It's first 2 were great, third one's crap, and that's the thing. I don't think they can make a third one now. The way they ended it, the way they left it off, and it's unless they pull something really incredible out of the bag, I won't see it, to be honest. Yeah. I love it, and I hate it, or parts of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, technically brilliant, visually brilliant. Narrative's a bit, but it's very ambitious, and I mean, it's Naughty Dog. I mean, you know,
right.
You expect nothing. You can't expect anything less, really. It's what they do.
Right. Yeah, I would say that the parts of it where ambitious succeeded spectacularly.
Definitely.
Yeah, Johnny, what about you?
Like I said, I like the story more than everyone else seems like, but I will say the story definitely needed to be chopped up more.
Yeah.
And definitely, it needed to let you play as Abby a little, more concurrently. And it would have felt better if, you would see these characters maybe as Abby and then kill him as Ellie, or kill him as Ellie and then see him as Abby for a short bit. But I don't know. I think the narrative could have been laid out in a better way. But I think overall, I thought it was pretty good, and obviously the gameplay was amazing. So 9 out of 10.
My wish scenario for how this had gone would be for at the very beginning when Joel gets killed, for you to be sneaking up there as Abby, you hear, or as Ellie, you run in there and see Abby kill Joel and smash his head in or whatever, and then they goes to that whole scene, and then just the camera just shifts over and you're Abby immediately after having killed Joel. I would have been so fucking psyched. I was like, oh shit, that's me.
I thought you were gonna say while you're killing Joel, so it's
no, press Y to kill Joel.
Oh.
Yeah, but I was thinking right after, when Abby and all of them are escaping from there, it has you take control of them as the Jackson people come after you or whatever, and I think that'd be so fucking cool. But anyway, yeah. So I have trouble assigning this game a number. I would probably give it a 7 or 7.5, maybe 7.5 is better. But if I'm just giving it on a scale of recommend, absolutely recommend for sure, for sure Z's. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Neil's cooking up for us next time.
I don't know. I could see something where it's Abby and escorting someone to Jackson, because it's pretty much the only actually safe town that she knows about.
Yeah, could be.
And that would be interesting, but
quick shout out to the performances on this.
Oh gosh.
Oh my god. This is I mean, I think it's pretty easily the best. Yeah, was Ashley Johnson was Abby? Or she's Ellie. Laura Bailey played Abby. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I was so impressed with both of them. they both gave like startlingly good performances in this, and this is some of maybe the best video game like motion capture acting I've ever seen.
It's just some of the best acting I've seen in a while.
Yeah, like it really is.
It's almost on par with Ellie Noir's motion capture.
Hold on, let me do it.
Fine, Damon.
I'm not lying.
Yeah, I'm telling you the truth. But yeah, like it's like technology has come so far. Like fucking 30 years ago, people are playing like Super Mario Brothers, right? Like it's crazy.
I'm just imagining the last scene in the first Last of Us where she says, "I need you to tell me the truth. Was there no cure?" And he says, "I promise."
Okay. I think that's a good.
Undercut all the emotional weight.
Yeah. That would be so good. Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. This has been a special Spoilercast episode. It's just for you of GameBusters. So I'm thinking we'll probably do these in the future for other big games. I guess Cyberpunk's coming up.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Yeah, Cyberpunk will be released on November 19th. But yeah, so yeah, make sure to check this out. I think I'll probably put this up as audio too. I don't know if it'll sound great, but might as well. And yeah, find more stuff on YouTube and follow us on your podcatcher of choice. Thank you all for joining us. And does anyone want to like take us out on sort of a big signature catchphrase?
That's how it be. Da-da-da.
That's the way the news goes. Okay.